This past week or so, I've been absolutely absorbed by the new Sony FX5, one of the most exciting camera launches in years. It's probably one of the most powerful cameras Sony have ever made and caused a right stir on the internet, but you probably don't even need it. Now, I'm not here to tell you not to buy this camera. It's a great camera. If you got the money, go for it. This is just my 2 cents, but first, let's have a look at the specs. This camera really is a Frankenstein's monster of other brands' best bits and meeting user demand. So you can really look at it and see the DNA of other brands in there. For example, you can see the Blackmagic 6K cameras and their removable EVFs. You can see the triple base ISO, which was first introduced on the Canon C400. And we've got that larger screen on the back, which is similar to the Nikon ZR. This camera really feels more like a greatest hits. I don't think it does anything revolutionary, but it seems to do everything very, very well. It's got incredible sensor readout speed of sub 10 milliseconds per second. So we've got that. I think that even includes if you're using dynamic range boost as well. So that's really, really cool. It can shoot around 5K footage, so not quite 6K, but I still think very much in that sweet spot. And it can also do up to 240 frames per second in 4K in a future firmware update. But FYI, never buy a camera based on what it might do in the future. Buy it on what it can do today, because Sony don't always have the best track record with their firmware updates. We've also got a 16 megapixel sensor, which is rumored to be the Sony A7R6 sensor, but sort of like divided. This gives it an incredible low light performance, especially when paired with that triple base ISO. And we finally got OpenGate. More on that in a little bit. Now, the features that personally excite me are the RAW. Now, I kind of have a mixed relationship with RAW, and you're going to find this video is a video about like dueling opinions. So I kind of think RAW is a little bit overrated. For me, I've been shooting on Blackmagic and that does gorgeous footage. It does open up some flexibility in post. But for me, the only really benefit, to be completely honest, is if you go from mixed lighting. So say, for example, you're shooting a wedding and you've got really warm lights in one room, cool lights in the other room, and you don't do your white balance properly, you can correct the white balance in post. And for me, that's been the only real benefit. And in 16 years of doing this, to be honest with you, it's been so rare that I've even made that mistake anymore. It's very much second nature for me to go into a room and then just get my white balance very quickly. I usually even set up presets for different rooms. But the RAW in this camera is actually really exciting because it will give you that flexibility with a much, much more compressed bit rate than, say, ProRes RAW and Red RAW, which is causing division on the internet. Now, this is Sony's X-OCN RAW. Now, I don't believe it's the highest RAW that they do. I believe that it's actually a more compressed version of the stuff that's found in their Sony sort of Venice line of cameras, but it's going to be more than enough for most users, I would imagine. And it is great to have that little bit of extra flexibility. I do want to mention as well that what people haven't mentioned is in the Panasonic S1 II, we do have ProRes, which are giant files, but you do have a compressed version in there as well. I think the lowest RAW version is 1 gigabits per second, which is what I would personally use. But you also have ProRes in there as well, so just standard ProRes. And the benefit of shooting in standard ProRes is it's going to be in an all intra codec. So we've got a bigger screen, we've got fewer buttons, and we've got really fast sensor rollout. And we also have a Cine menu as well. Now, the Cine menu is interesting because to me this signifies that this is really meant to be thought of as a pure production camera. The Sony FX5 very much is a hybrid. It took what the Sony A7S could do and put it into a more cinema-friendly body. I've got mixed feelings on this term cinema, but this camera really does feel like a production camera. We also crucially get 32-bit float in the camera, providing you actually get the XLR handle, which is actually the same thing that Lumix do, which I find a bit annoying. Nikon ZR do it the best. They have it where it's just built into the camera, and I think that should be the default now. I don't like being forced to having to buy extra products, especially if you want to go quite light and you don't want a big unit on top of your camera. But it is very good for crews to know that it's there. So this camera is objectively awesome. It's a fantastic camera, but it is flawed as well. And guess what? If you're still in search of the perfect camera, you're going to be looking for a really long time. A few things that I think are worth mentioning are it does do open gate, but I think you lose autofocus support and noise processing once you shoot at certain modes in open gate, or when trying to use like in certain anamorphic modes. I still think Panasonic do the best implementation of this. They've done it for so long, and anamorphic to me is something that I never thought I wanted until recently, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a bit, because that's the more important thing. For me, open gate has become a really crucial feature. Now, this has been a real hot topic on the internet, but for me, I would rather have more real estate and therefore more options. It's better to have something and not need it, rather than the other way around. One use case where this was a real practical benefit for me was I had to develop a whole bank of assets for a company so that they could sell them to third parties, stock footage essentially. Because I shot in open gate, I was able to split that footage up into 16:9, 9:16, 1:1, and so on. Basically, I was able to do all of that and save myself a considerable amount of time because I shot in open gate. It's a simple thing that goes beyond just stepping back with the camera. When you just step back with the camera, you're going to change your depth of field, your compression. It has real meaningful differences. And then, of course, it might just be a creative choice. Maybe you want to shoot in open gate because you want the headroom, similar to, I don't know, say a Justice League. You just want that look. Or when you look at IMAX films and you've got that extra sort of headroom, can be nice. But the choice should ultimately be on you. So it's great to see that they've finally implemented it here, but it's only in certain modes and it is limited, and that anamorphic support leaves quite a bit to be desired as well. But it's definitely a step in the right direction, and I'm sure that they will fix a lot of this with firmware updates. I actually want to talk about something more important: the tribalism around camera brands on the internet. So since this camera came out, there has typically been the old divisiveness and wars and forum wars that you find every single time a new camera is released online. Let's get a few things out of the way. Is this a great camera? It is a great camera. Are there other great cameras? There are many other great cameras. I don't think this camera, like I said earlier, is revolutionary, but I think it is exceptional at doing all of what it does do very well, minus a few quirks here and there. But this camera being out doesn't make your camera worse. What I find more troubling is that the creators out there are so quick to jump onto a new camera every single time, and it seems like a big majority of them actually just get gifted these cameras. Chances are you're not going to be gifted this camera like they are, and I think a responsibility comes when you're gifted with something. You have to share that camera, it has been gifted to you, and I think there should be a message that yes, gear matters. But remember, this camera being out isn't going to make you a better filmmaker, and it isn't going to make the gear that you have got defunct. So at around £5,000, this is an expensive camera. Is it too expensive? Yes and no. I think this is a real production camera now in a way that I don't feel like the FX3 was. But hold your thought for a second, because as a professional, you should take the attitude that any piece of equipment and any camera that you get in your hands is professional by virtue of you being a professional. However, I can see in this camera with things like the... Oh, what's that? I think that might have been a woodpecker. I can see in this camera with things like the move to a more cinema-centric menu system that they've really geared this towards filmmakers almost exclusively. There's no photo mode in this camera, so for me, it would be kind of useless. I'm a content creator and I'm making very mixed content. I could be on a photo shoot one day and trying to film something on another day. So you really want to take that into consideration. It's just a tool. It's expensive, but it's probably going to work very, very well on a set. I mean, I love doing wildlife filming, and I'm something, you know, I only do in my own time, but I could imagine professionals taking this camera on solo trips out into sort of far destinations and camping with it for ages and getting those incredible wildlife shots that we all love in those nature documentaries. Having a smaller camera that's really powerful is going to be incredible for that. But for you, this might not be a camera you even need. Your Sony FX5 is still going to be amazing. Your Sony A7S III is going to be amazing. Your Sony A6700 is going to be amazing. And for me, my S1 II is still going to be amazing. My S9 is still amazing. The ZR is still amazing. What isn't amazing is how toxic people are online. And this is because we all feel the need to defend our purchases, and we have to stand up like the brands need us to stick up for them. I've been a part of this. And look, of course, gear matters. But let's refocus. Let's stop the arguing and the tribalism online. I actually want to try and change my way of thinking. I want people to enjoy the cameras and the equipment that they've got. I don't want to try and bring anybody down. These things cost a lot of money, and I don't want people to feel bad about what they've brought. I think it's really important that we remember why we got into filmmaking to begin with, or content creation. We want to make cool things. I've just had a real cool full circle moment actually. I recently watched The Odyssey, and it really reminded me of the things I really love about filmmaking, and it reintroduced me to one of my favourite films, which is Lawrence of Arabia, and the director David Lean. And it made me realise that I've spent and wasted an absolute colossal amount of time looking at camera gear and arguing over which camera is best. None of this is conducive to making you a better filmmaker or you a better creative or content creator. It is a complete waste of your time. We have got ancient software running in our brains. They haven't really evolved that much, and they are at the mercy of these giant marketing machines. And we don't owe these brands any more than just buying the equipment, but really only buy it to serve our own creative needs. And it's really easy to convince yourself that you need every single best spec in the world in order to achieve what your vision is. But are you really doing that? Or are you really just filtering your insecurities into retail therapy? Oh, and real quick, there is nothing wrong with enjoying equipment. That is part of the job. It's fun to enjoy the equipment. But say it with me, guys, the craft comes first. If you've enjoyed this video and got any type of value from it, then hit the subscribe button. I'll catch you all next time. See ya.